I want to highlight this trip that some of Trump's cabinet secretaries took today to Alcatraz Island. Take a look at this. Attorney General Pam Bondi saying a great morning at Alcatraz, with Secretary Burgum saying under President Trump, we're making America safe again. As you know, we brought you this news a couple of months ago. Trump floating the idea of opening Alcatraz again, not as a tourist site, but back to a prison. Secretary Burgum saying in this post on social media, spent the day on Alcatraz Island, a National Park Service site, start the work to renovate and reopen the site to house the most dangerous criminals and illegals. This administration is restoring safety, justice, and order to our streets. At Interior and at the DOJ are following a directive by POTUS to help lead that mission. Well, our colleagues there in the Bay Area at Fox 2, KTVU, they're all over this story. We're relying on them to help us tell it, including our friend and reporter, Jana Katsuyama. She joins me live. Jana, thanks so much for being with us here. Who have you spoken with about this trip today, and will there be any likelihood that Alcatraz will become a prison anytime soon?
Well, we talked to everybody from people who are coming off the island on boats, from the tourists from all over the world, as well as the mayor of San Francisco. We're right here between Pier 39 and Fisherman's Wharf, and you can see just offshore, Alcatraz Island is about 1.5 miles into the bay. It's a beautiful trip for tourists who might want to go out there, but it is an expensive undertaking that could cost hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars if President Trump follows through on reopening it. Alcatraz is one of San Francisco's biggest sightseeing attractions.
It was interesting. It was, I've always been curious, so answered a lot of questions.
I've been to San Francisco a couple of times, and I always wanted to go.
On Thursday, crowds of tourists boarded the ferries to visit the infamous former federal prison. Those who saw the aging infrastructure said they're surprised that Attorney General Pam Bondi and Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum made the same trip earlier in the day, on a mission to look into President Trump's proposal to revert it back to a federal prison.
Did close down for a reason, because it wasn't economically sound and it wasn't a good proposition, so I think it should be left alone.
You'd have to probably demo the whole thing and start from scratch.
San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie and others say reopening a prison there would be a loss of revenue and a waste of taxpayers' money.
Tourists come from all over the world to visit Alcatraz. Over 1.5 million visitors, tens of millions of dollars of economic activity to our city and to our region.
I don't like the idea of spending all the money that you need to spend to make that into a prison.
The revenue that it generates, this is so much needed, especially at this time, and we are talking about so many aspects of economic recovery. It doesn't make sense at all.
The island also holds historic and sacred meaning for Bay Area indigenous people who staged a 1969 protest there to reclaim the land, and they've held annual ceremonies ever since to honor their ancestors.
Trying to heal that place and trying to make it a good place, having that gathering out there on Thanksgiving and on Indigenous Peoples Day.
San Francisco Board of Supervisors President Raphael Mandelman says he thinks the Trump administration is trying to create a distraction.
They're making a lot of noise. They're excellent at trolling us. They want us to be chasing after every crazy idea they throw out there. This is a crazy idea. I don't think we should be chasing after it until we know it's a little more real.
And some people say they believe this is similar to some of the other proposals by President Trump, such as annexing Greenland or making Canada the 51st state of the United States, making a lot of headlines, but really going nowhere. Now, the Secretary and also the AG were both in Muir Woods and then also in the Presidio, this whole Golden Gate National Recreation Area. And, former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who represents San Francisco, said today that she is planning to fight this. She does not believe it will go anywhere. Andrew?
Yeah, Jana, I was struck by the fact that it seems, a consensus is forming there, at least with the folks that you spoke with. No one wants this to happen. Are there anyone or any people in San Francisco who's for this, besides President Trump, Doug Burgum, Pam Bondi?
Well, Well, it's hard to tell. The people that we talked to basically felt like it was a lot of money to be putting into an aging infrastructure such as Alcatraz at this time. Certainly there are some people who are out there who probably do support this, but it's really difficult because today there were no hard concrete numbers on the table, and I think that's really where the rubber hits the road, and it will either make or break this proposal in terms of what the details are in reopening this.
All right, Jana Katsuyama there on the wharf. Jana, great reporting. Good to see you. Thanks so much. Okay, in the meantime here, I want to just stay briefly with this story. Take a look at this. Skyfox was overhead earlier this morning, catching Attorney General Bondi, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, and others with the National Park Service there on the very beginning of their tour of Alcatraz Island. You can see they're taking a photo. And so, like you heard from Jana's report there, a lot of the folks she spoke with are against this idea for a number of different reasons. That's kind of why I asked, is there anyone in the Bay Area who's for it? We'll just have to wait and see. But President Trump, alongside his attorney general there, confirming these plans, don't really know a timetable or how much is this going to cost. But San Francisco officials are lamenting the fact that a lot of tourism revenue could be gone if this plan is actually materialized. So I wanted to show you some of these aerial pictures that we got today on Alcatraz Island. I want to put up yet another post by AG Bondi saying, "A great morning at Alcatraz," with Secretary Burgum saying, "Under President Trump, we're making America safe again." She even alluded to the fact that, if Alcatraz is somewhat repurposed back to its original role as a prison, she said the most dangerous criminals here in the United States and even maybe undocumented migrants could be housed and detained there. So we'll just have to wait and see. This is kind of a long-term view for the Trump administration. But in the meantime, let's take a quick commercial break. Still a few more top headlines to get to when we come back.